Hello and welcome back to another episode of Math with Sohn. Today we are going to be figuring out how to find the angle measurements inside a right triangle using Trig. So let's do it. If you have a right triangle and you're looking for the angle measurement, not the sides, you're still going to be using the sine, cosine, and tangent. Sine of the angle will still equal the opposite over the hypotenuse, and you got the cosine of the angle equals the adjacent over the hypotenuse, and you still have the tan of the angle is equal to the opposite over adjacent. You're still going to use those. All that still the same. The difference is that you're going to use them in a slightly different way. So you're still going to have things given to you, like let's say that's 10 and this is 14. You're still going to identify your opposite across from the x, your hypotenuse across from that 90 degrees, and your adjacent, which is next to the x and in between the adjacent and hypotenuse, is going to be where your x or your angle is going to be. And you're going to look at it and be like, okay, I have the opposite, I have the hypotenuse. Which trig function do I have to use? Opposite hypotenuse. Well, wait a minute. That's sine. Opposite hypotenuse has sine in it. So we're going to use the sine. The big difference is that if you're looking for the angle, you're still going to have the 10 and the 14, but you want to use the sine -1 button, which on most calculators is going to be second, then sine, to get the sine -1. And then you just type in 10 divided by 14 and hit enter, and it will spit out the angle, 45.58 degrees. 45.58 degrees. And that's it. We're going to do a few more problems, but it does not get any harder than that. So let's say we have this triangle here with the x there. And that's our 90. Let's give us, this is 14. And that's 11. So we're still going to label our opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse. The 14 is across from that x, so that's going to be the opposite. The hypotenuse is this slanty side, which makes that 11 the adjacent. So then we look and we're like, okay, which trig function do we have to use? Well, we have opposite and adjacent given to us. We don't have the hypotenuse this time, so we're going to use whichever function has opposite and adjacent, and we look and we're like, opposite hypotenuse, adjacent hypotenuse, opposite adjacent. Then we use the tan function. So instead of using sine -1, we're going to use tan -1, and that's opposite over adjacent because that's what tan is, so 14 over 11, and we type that in our calculator. Second tan gives us the tan -1 button, and then we have to do 14 divided by 11. If you have a fraction bar, you can use that as well. 51.84. All right, one more quick one to round it off. This is a really quick lesson because it's not that complicated, especially if you've already solved for the sides. So here we go. Last one. Let's make our right angle here, and I'm going to put my x there. I'm going to figure out that this is 10 and that's 15. So I'm going to label my opposite, I'm going to label my hypotenuse and my adjacent, and then I'm going to determine which one do I have. Well, I have my adjacent, I have my hypotenuse. I'm going to have to use cosine. So I figured we get one of each, but it really doesn't change anything. Adjacent and hypotenuse uses cosine, so cosine -1, adjacent over hypotenuse, 10 over 15, would be what we get for our answer. So I'm going to type that in my calculator. Cos -1, 10 divided by 15 is 48.18 degrees. And that's it. All right, so don't make it overcomplicated. See you later. Have a great day. Bye.